In the glittering world of Hollywood, where red carpets shine and cameras capture every smile, there exists a haunting paradox. The dazzling facade of fame often conceals the silent struggles within. Few stars embody this truth more deeply than Johnny Depp, the enigmatic actor whose life has played out like a cinematic saga of brilliance, heartbreak, and resilience. Though his iconic roles have etched him into cinematic history, from the mischievous Captain Jack Sparrow to the brooding Edward Scissorhands, behind the characters lies a man burdened by emotional scars and the weight of a life lived under relentless scrutiny. The burden Johnny Depp carries in his heart is not just the residue of fame or failed love, it is the accumulated ache of a misunderstood artist fighting to preserve his soul in a world eager to define him by chaos rather than compassion. For decades, Depp was Hollywood's rebel dream, a chameleon who could disappear into any role yet remain unmistakably himself. But beneath his artistry, there was always a thread of melancholy, a kind of poetry shaped by pain. Those close to him describe a man who feels too deeply, who loves too hard, and who struggles to find peace in a world that often confuses vulnerability for weakness. His burden began long before the headlines and heartbreaks. Born in Owensboro, Kentucky in 1963, Johnny's early years were marked by turbulence. His parents' volatile relationship and eventual divorce left an imprint on the young boy who would grow up seeking solace in music and art. His mother, Betty Sue Palmer, was both his anchor and his storm, loving yet fierce, nurturing yet demanding. When she passed away in 2016, Depp described it as one of the most profound losses of his life. To this day, friends say he carries her memory like a shadow, a constant reminder of where he came from and how far he's had to travel to escape the ghosts of his past. Depp's artistic soul was born out of that early pain. Before Hollywood found him, music was his refuge. He once said that his guitar was a way to speak when words failed. Even today, on the quiet nights between filming, he retreats into his music, playing softly under dim lights, as though each chord releases a fragment of his heart. But fame arrived swiftly and violently, pulling him away from the simplicity of his dreams. His breakout role on 21 Jump Street catapulted him into teenage idolhood, a title he despised. While the world saw a heartthrob, he saw a cage. Depp's rebellion against Hollywood's expectations wasn't arrogance, it was self-preservation. He sought depth in art, truth in performance, and authenticity in a world of illusion. Yet as the years unfolded, that yearning for truth became both his gift and his torment. The greatest burden Johnny Depp carries today stems from the relentless dissection of his private life. The court cases, public scandals, and media battles that dominated his later years have taken a toll on his spirit. To be painted alternately as villain and victim, hero and heathen, has left scars that fame cannot heal. Even when he won his defamation case against Amber Heard in 2022, the victory felt bittersweet. The trial may have restored his reputation in the eyes of many, but it also stripped him emotionally bare before the world. Every wound, every regret, every tear became public property. In interviews after the verdict, Depp spoke with the quiet dignity of a man who had endured more than his share of humiliation and heartbreak. Yet those who know him best say that even now, he carries a certain sorrow, a burden born from betrayal, misunderstanding, and the loss of trust in humanity's empathy. But Johnny's burden is not just about legal battles or lost love. It is about identity. Throughout his career, Depp has immersed himself so deeply into characters that sometimes he seems to lose pieces of himself in the process. The haunted poet in The Ninth Gate, the tragic romantic in Don Juan DeMarco, the tormented soul in Edward Scissorhands. Each role mirrored fragments of his own psyche. "Each character I play," he once confessed, "takes something from me and I let it." The emotional exchange between actor and art became both his salvation and his suffering. He gave so much of himself to his craft that little was left untouched by its demands. In this way, the burden he carries is also one of creative sacrifice, the cost of bearing one's soul for art that the world consumes but rarely comprehends. Behind closed doors, Depp is known to be introspective, even shy, a far cry from the flamboyant pirate persona that made him a global icon. He spends long hours painting, writing poetry, or sketching quietly, often surrounded by friends who describe him as gentle, deeply loyal, and surprisingly humble. Yet, despite the warmth he offers others, he struggles to offer the same compassion to himself. Friends have said that Depp is haunted by a persistent guilt over broken relationships, lost time with his children, and the ways fame fractured his private world. His daughter, Lily Rose Depp, remains one of his guiding lights, but even that relationship has had its complicated moments under the harsh glare of public attention. The burden he carries, then, is also the ache of a father trying to protect his children from the shadows that follow his name. As time passes, Johnny Depp seems increasingly drawn to solitude. The man once surrounded by flashing cameras now prefers the quiet of his estate in France, or the isolated stillness of his private island in the Bahamas. There, away from Hollywood's noise, he finds fragments of peace. Friends describe him sitting by the sea for hours, lost in thought, as if speaking silently to the ghosts of his past. He writes letters he never sends, plays music no one hears, and paints images of faces that reflect fragments of memory and emotion. These quiet rituals are his form of healing. Yet even in solitude, the burden doesn't fully lift. It lingers, soft but constant, like the background hum of an old song he cannot forget. Part of his pain also stems from his compassion for others. Depp has always been fiercely protective of the outcast, the misunderstood, the broken. He has been known to visit sick children dressed as Jack Sparrow, not for publicity, but because he genuinely believes in the healing power of kindness. Those who have seen him with fans say he listens intently, gives hugs freely, and speaks with sincerity. But empathy, while noble, can also be a curse. It makes one absorb the world's pain as if it were one's own. Depp's sensitivity to human suffering is both his strength and his sorrow. It explains why his performances feel so raw and real, and why the chaos of the world often seems to wound him more deeply than it should. And then there is love, the eternal theme in Johnny's story. Love has lifted him, destroyed him, inspired him, and left him hollow. His relationships, from Winona Ryder to Vanessa Paradis, have been the stuff of legend. Yet behind each romance lies a man searching for belonging, for a safe place to rest his heart. When he speaks of love, he does so with a kind of wistful poetry, as if he still believes in its power despite all the heartbreak. "I think love is the only real thing," he once said. "Everything else is just noise." But that belief makes the losses hurt more deeply. The burden he carries in his heart is partly the residue of those loves, each one leaving an invisible bruise that time has not fully healed. Today, Johnny Depp stands at a strange crossroads, revered as an icon but weary from the wars he has fought. His recent artistic ventures, directing Maudit, producing music, and painting portraits, represent a kind of rebirth, an attempt to turn pain into creation. His artwork, often featuring close friends and personal heroes like Hunter S. Thompson, Bob Dylan, and Heath Ledger, reveals the tenderness beneath his rough exterior. Each brushstroke feels like confession, each canvas a page of his emotional diary. "Art is what's left when words are gone," he once told a friend. In that sense, painting is how he unburdens himself, even if only for a moment. What, then, is the true burden Johnny Depp carries in his heart? It is the accumulation of love, loss, art, and misunderstanding, the emotional residue of a man who feels everything too deeply. It is the heartbreak of being human in a world that mistakes depth for darkness. It is the ache of an artist who has given the world his soul, only to have it dissected and debated. It is the silence after applause, the loneliness after love, the shadow that follows light. His burden is the price of being real in a realm of illusion. And yet, for all his sorrow, there is something profoundly hopeful about Johnny Depp. Beneath the melancholy lies a survivor's heart, a man who refuses to let pain extinguish his creativity. He continues to create, to perform, to give. The weight he carries has not broken him. It has refined him. He is no longer the Hollywood rebel of the 1990s, nor the scandal-plagued figure of tabloid wars. He is something rarer, a soul weathered by fire, still capable of tenderness. His laughter, though quieter now, still carries warmth. His eyes, though lined with age, still glimmer with mischief. Perhaps that is the most beautiful truth about Johnny Depp's burden. It is not just a weight, it is a testament to survival, to sensitivity, to the courage of remaining human in an industry that often devours humanity. He carries his pain like an old guitar, battered but beloved, each scar a story, each crack a chord. And when he plays, whether on screen, on stage, or in the quiet corners of his solitude, the world listens not because he is flawless, but because he is real. Friends, subscribe the channel, and I wish you good luck. You should take care of yourself.